In this video, I'm going to make this space just a little more usable. And we're going to do it right now. Plates. This is live, so I'm going to be careful. All this is live. You can smell old house instantly. Might have to reroute some wiring. The wall was built after. Nope. Nice ceiling tiles. Those were tested. Don't worry, guys. They were tested when I did that room. Yeah, that needs to be taken down and restrapped because that is not secure. I mean, the wallpaper is amazing. Am I right or am I right? Look at all that empty space. The old load-bearing wall, 2x3. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I don't know yet. This stuff right here is the sound and fire insulation for the bedroom. New framing, 2x4. This stuff is great. It really works well for sound. I shut this power off right here. Just going to loosen this. Don't hit the wires. Okay. Now I can take this paneling off. Maybe I'll try and break this in half. I can tear this drywall out. Doesn't seem like there's any weight on that. Shouldn't be, because I raised this up a pretty good amount. Cellulose. And now the strapping, since that's not doing anything. Sealing down ever so carefully. I don't know where to start. How about right there? New insulation that I put in there. So what I'm doing now, which I'm sure I did because I had a whole plan before, is just triple checking to make sure that these go all the way before I take all these studs out. And they do. There's no break. They're not cut over this or anything, so good to take these out. That wasn't hanging on by much. Oh, look at that. I tried. I'm gonna take that right out of there. That's embarrassing. Thought I left it so it could come out. Aha. I think I just tucked all my leftovers in there. So I turned off the oil burner and the basement lights so that I can take this wall down and not have any issues here, hopefully. And I also have screws into the paneling back here, so I'm going to take this switch out. Probably going to have to redo these boxes and the wiring. Might as well while I'm doing this. Not live. Okay, I should be able to get this paneling removed. It's going to come down in one big sheet. We'll unless I cut it, which is what I want to do. Cut that through. Don't try that at home if you have a bad back like I do. More drywall. Wow, one big piece. There's the chimney. Yep, I'm gonna redo all this. I'm gonna temporarily install this stuff. Just temporary. Now I'm gonna flip those breakers back on. Take this bottom plate off. I'm going to cut it right here, even with these studs. Yes, I am using this for demo. I love that tool. Cool. So I'm going to go along and re-secure this strapping, because over time what happens is those nails can loosen up like that. So if this was a big room, a big ceiling, I would set up my framing gun and add 2 nails to this. But since this is a small area, I'll just put 1 screw right in the middle, hammer these all up, get them tight, and reattach them with a screw. See that? Sucked it right up there. I have to add a nailer right here. I didn't do that when I did the bedroom. I didn't think I really knew what I was doing on this side, but one thing I want to watch out for is wires like this one right here. And just make sure I steer clear there. And I believe that is the only wire. And instead of taking all this insulation out, what I'm going to do is just grab some 3/4 and tuck it in here, get it even. And I'm going to try and run some screws right here and get this tight. This is just a nailer for the drywall. I'm just going to use some drywall screws to attach it, just like this. Make sure I'm out of the way of that wire. Yep. Another one down here. Make sure that gets sucked in tight here. Tuck this one in. Come on. Luckily, I did the electrical, so I know exactly where there are and are not wires. These gaps are fine as long as I measure down, and at 48 inches, as long as I have something to screw to. So that's perfect. I'm going to measure right here 14 3/4, which is pretty much the width of this stuff. That way I'll only have to rip this right here and I won't have trouble keeping this insulation in place. I'll measure the same at the top. 14 3/4. I'd rather do this than use a level and plumb this up. It doesn't really matter. You'll be happy to know that I'm reusing a 2x3 that I tore out of here. Why not? Well, I don't want that to be touching the chimney. So I'm going to put it in this way. Then I'm going to attach this with some 3-inch construction screws. If you haven't noticed, I'm trying to avoid breaking out my compressor because I don't think I need to. Look, a pre-drilled hole for me. So these are the only 2 old lines that I want to just get out of here. Obviously I want to get this in here. They did this, I think, because there's a joist right here, but I think if I go at an angle, I can go through the middle. And this one, I'm just going to take right out of here. But if you follow these up, you'll see this one is the light switch that turns the basement lights on and off. And then if you follow this one up, it goes up and then comes back down, and this is the emergency shutoff switch for the oil burner. So instead of having it all like this, I'm going to put some new boxes on here, and then I will run the lines right just into the basement, just so I can get the drywall here, and then we can connect it afterwards. So I'm going to start with these boxes. Starting with this one, I just measured what my other light switches are, and I'm going to go about the same. So I'm going to go 47 to the top of the box. Hold my box right here and nail it in place. Kind of a tight squeeze. This one I'm going to put about where the other one was. Okay, I'm going to use a 5/8 drill bit. I want to put 2 lines through here. I'm going to do my hole right here, put a nice angle on it to see if I can get past the joist that's right under here. And this wire goes under. So now in the basement, it comes down right here, and then it goes over to the first light on the series of basement lights. And then this is the wire for the emergency shutoff switch to the burner, and that goes over this way. I'm going to try and angle my drill so that the wire comes out just about here. Let's see how close I am. I see light. Got it. I'm going to run some 14-2 up here. I think it's better that I start from the bottom, leave the lines long. On the back of the box, for some reason these boxes, they make you break these out. Some of them are spring loaded. Just feed my line in here. Make sure I have plenty. Now I'll go back down to the basement. So I just have my wire and make sure that I have plenty. And this is where this is going. This is the firematic valve. I'm replacing this wire right here. I should eventually replace everything, but for right now, I'm just placing this, making sure I have plenty of line. I don't have to connect anything yet. I just want these in the basement so I can close up those walls. So I'll just hang it right there for now, and we'll move on. Wire number 2. Now this one, I'm gonna come in from the bottom. Staple up here if I can. Carefully take this staple out. Staple out here. Good. I'm going to take this insulation off carefully. Just tucking those wires in here. I can tuck these ones in. Okay, now same thing here. Just going to make sure there's plenty of wire, more than enough, and then cut this. I'll route it over these pipes, just about where it's going to go. That will be plenty, and I'll just tuck it up in here. Just like that for now. So now I need to run one more wire. I'm going to drill down right here. I'll go up the wall and then to this ceiling. Sweet. Now I'm going to go up here. I can send my wire up. Here. And I want to go to about the middle, which I believe is about right here. 66, so 33. It's right in the center here, which is fine because I got a cool ultra thin downlight. And 50, so 25. Center of this joist, that's where the light's going. So I'll put my junction box right up in here somewhere. So that's good for that line. This is the little junction box that I'm going to use for the recessed light. I'm going to attach it to this joist. So. These are really, really easy. And then take these, and it's just plug and play. Neutral. Make sure it's in there good. And then the ground. Plug it. And then hot. You can't pull them back out. And then it has a little thing at the top, hard for you to see. Get all the wires as neatly as possible in the junction box. A little something like that. Again, hard to see. But then you can close this and you can change the color temperature right here to be warm or cool. So this is like a cool white. It's like a hospital really. So I turn this up right in the middle. Somewhere like that. Good. And this is the piece that actually goes to attaches to the drywall. You can see it's super thin, so it can go here, it can go on a piece of strapping. Really cool. So this attaches here, feed it up, boom. It's gonna be like that. So I'm gonna tuck this wire in here so it's not in my way and I don't accidentally cut it. I can just cut this hole, reach my hand up, and pull this out. Should be able to get around there. That'd be fine. All right, now I can staple this wire. Get another one in here. Okay. Now I can put this insulation back. Good to go. I'm going to attach these ones too, since I'm here. These were fed in while the wall was closed, so I can just attach these to the stud. Why not, while I'm here? Fire and sound insulation, also known as mineral wool. This stuff works really well for sound, and it's really easy to install. You just throw it in here and press it into place. Just like that. And that is why I put that stud in there. You can see I tucked in some here when I did the living room remodel. I'm just going to tuck it back here and make way for a full piece. Jam it in here. Now we can put a full piece in here. Like that. And then, to cut this stuff, I like to use an old kitchen knife. I keep this around for this and fiberglass insulation and use it just like a saw. Just don't put that back in the drawer. Put it in your toolbox. And that is how you install mineral wool. And this is R15, by the way. You can use this on outside walls. It just doesn't come with a vapor barrier. All right, now we do that anywhere it's missing. Go right here, but I'm gonna cut out for this 2x4. So make a mark there. See a little something like this. Good thing is you don't have to be exact with this. And it's really easy to work with. As you can see, it cuts pretty easily. And you can take pieces like this and tuck them into small spaces. Let's see if that worked. Might need a ladder. I bet you'd be pretty good at this if you're a butcher. There you go, there's a fillet. There, that's better. And then I can use this piece here. And now I'm gonna cut these right down the middle so I can use them for the 2x3s. These are meant for 2x4s. Put that piece behind. There we go. Keep in mind, this stuff can make a mess. But I can take all this, I can put that in the wall. No mineral wool wasted. Now this is going to have to be set into the wall now that the drywall is going tight here. So first, make sure there's nothing back there. And I'm just going to cut a square out. First, make a little path for the wire. And then cut out a square. I'll go something like that. Fill this back in. I can fine tune that when I actually do the drywall. Good. I'm gonna have to get this old wire out of here at some point. I'll just make sure I can see it so I don't forget about it. I can get to the staple still. That's good enough here. I'm just gonna leave this out and I'll fill it in when I take care of this wiring. Look at that. Glass and rock. That's why when you cut through it, sometimes you hear that's what you're hitting. Now I want to get some in this like bulkhead right here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to just stay in this cavity, but we're going to try. I don't know. I feel like that's going to fall. Might just do that when we do the drywall. That way we can tuck it in all gentle like and then put the drywall up. Yeah, I'll wait on this one. See if I can fill this in, or are we going to have the same situation? Yeah, let's wait. We'll do that when we do the drywall. All right, we're done for now. I'm not throwing this stuff away. Just putting it in a bag and saving it. So I got 4x8 foot sheets, and wouldn't you know it, this width right here is like 49.5 right here. So unfortunately, we're gonna do 2 pieces. That's just how it's gonna work out. And I'm gonna put my first piece right here. So it'll be 4 feet by 49.5. And then that way I'll have a seam right here and it'll be easier to tape and mud because I have my landing down here. So I'll cut one for here, and there's a light going right here. I'm gonna measure center for that so I can cut it outside so I can eliminate as much mess as possible. Also, just as a little note, this is not enough to get a screw into, and this is kind of far away here. If this was a regular room, I would put a piece of strap in here. This is about the same distance on the other side. For this basement stairwell, I'm not really worried about it. I'm taking a couple liberties in this one, and this is one of them. We're gonna have a sheet going up on the wall anyways to hold that up. I don't think we'll get any cracking here anyways. Just a little note. If you never cut drywall before, really simple. I'm gonna mark 49.5, and then this one's actually at an angle, so I'm gonna mark 50 down here. Get a straight edge. This is actually a T made for drywall, and I'll hold it on that mark, hold it on this mark, just slice it. Okay, now you can pick it up and just break it. You can turn it around and cut the paper from the back side, or you can do it right from the front. And that's it. So I already have my center mark right here. I have my light. Here's the wire for my light. Tuck that up there. So this is exactly where I want it in the center. So I'm going to measure off of this wall, maybe 33.5. And then off of this wall, 25. 33.5, 25. 33.5, 25. That's center. This is the light that I'm putting in here. 6-inch canless halo, ultra thin. There should be a template. Is it in here? Yes. I'll cut a little hole right here so I can see my mark. Yay. My template here. And mark along the edge. Cut that out with my rotozip. And now I have a handle. Before I hang this sheet, just want to make sure I know where my strapping is. I have my cordless drywall gun. I'm going to put a screw in here. Half the time it falls out while I am getting the sheet up there, but we'll see what happens. So let's put this in place. Probably be better with 2 people. I always tell you that, but I never have somebody helping me for whatever reason. Looking good. Too much. Have to set this properly. Too much. Check your gun before you do this. It can be frustrating. All right, I think I got it. Oh, if you look up, you'll notice a lot of screws. And that's because I didn't adjust my drywall gun before I did this, which I should have done, which I always do. And I don't know why I didn't here. Because I think to myself, oh, it's just a couple sheets, one little area. Should be all set from the last time. Don't be like me. Be smart. This is the cool thing about those lights, is you can land right on a joist or even on a piece of strapping and you'll still be fine. Couldn't do that with old school lights, the can lights. Put this piece in. Mark the strapping. Trim it a little bit. Right there, I gotta trim it. These walls are pretty far off. They bow in, they bow out. They're not square. We're gonna make it work. Let's see what that does. Oh yeah. I'm gonna do these sheets now and get all the wiring out of the way. I'm gonna go downstairs and run these as far as I can to where they're going, and then I will shut the power off. I'll cut these out, do the drywall, connect the switches, and turn the power back on, and hopefully it'll be all set. So this is the wire coming from the switch. That's gonna go over to the first light in the basement run, just where the old switch goes to. I'm gonna take these staples out here. These wires, whoa! These wires are alive, so I just wanna be careful. They're in there very well. I'm replacing one of these, but I also wanna put strapping along here. Piece up like this. And that's where both of the wires will go. That's going up to the switch, so that's the one we're going to get rid of. So I'll start right here. For now, we're actually going to keep this one until I rewire everything in the basement. So I'll just put a couple staples in this one, this old one. This is the wire that goes to the light. I just want to put it up over this one so these don't get too twisted. Make sure we have a clear path. It's going to go up and over these pipes. And then it's going to go that way, along with this wire that's going to go to the firematic valve for the oil burner. Now I just want to get this wire run close to where it needs to be. I'm going to go along this beam like this, and then it's going to go up in this bay and over to this light, which is the end of the run down here. I know there's plenty of other ways I could do this. I could have just run a wire to the switch itself, but I have plans for the future. So I'm going to cut this off the roll so I can go under all the other wires. Give myself plenty. I'll put a staple back here, and then it'll go whoop, kind of like that. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail about wiring because I believe that you need to be careful and you could do something pretty bad. So I'm not going to be the guy to tell you what to do. One more right here, and then I'll do another staple when I actually hook that light up. Okay, so just to show you, these are live. This is the switch for the lights for the basement and for the new basement stairwell light, and then that is for the oil burner. Let's go shut those breakers off. Okay, furnace is off, and then basement lights, basement lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah! Okay. Now we know that they're off. You can test them with a different tester. Some people don't trust these, but I'm okay with it. All right. We can get these out of the way. I just temporarily attached it. I'm also doing new switches, so I'm not worried about keeping these ones. I'm going to cut these right out of here. This one. You can see how this wire was run on top of the stud. That just was not going to work for me. That was one reason I rewired this, but another one was to just have new wiring. This one's kind of old. Take out all the staples, if there are any more. Try and keep that insulation in play. Okay, I'll go down and pull these down. Now, one thing I want to do is do some fire barrier sealant. Block up any holes that go top to bottom, like that one. And I guess I'll do this one, even though it doesn't go all the way through. And this one over here. And any other ones, like where the light went up or anything that was left over from before. And there's a couple up here. Now I'm going to fill this in with insulation. Measure for the sheet. $49.5. Now, I am going to cut this box with the rotozip on the inside. It's just the easiest way. So I'm going to measure to the ceiling and go to about the middle, 28. And then we'll go from this side. 28 and 41.25. I'll mark it on the sheet. 28, 41.25. Now I don't cut that out first. I'm going to hang the sheet and then I'll cut it. Just mark all the studs. Obviously there's one in the corner. One there, 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 and one on the end. Now I want to get a couple screws in here, not near that box, because I could break the drywall as I cut it. So here. I don't want to go too deep and hit the wires. I just want to go deep enough, find the edge of the box, pull this out a little bit, and then find the other edge and go around it. And it's better to go counterclockwise so the thing doesn't go all over the place. Here we go. There you go. Lost the box there for a minute right there. We're good. I'm just going to put a couple more screws in here. I'm not going to do the whole sheet just because I want the wiring. I want to make sure the wiring's good before I go putting 1,000 screws in here. So that's good for now. Let's do another sheet. Let's go. Now I'm going to mark the studs on the bottom here. Nice. Again, I don't want to screw too close to that box. Okay, and cut that box. I didn't mark this one because I can see it very clearly here. So this box came out okay. The one up here, I went a little too deep, so I can get a bump out for that. But for now, I'm just gonna hook the switch up so I know it's good to go. So I'm going to start with this bottom one, and I'm just going to look at the switch that was here before and wire it the same way. So take these screws out and take a look. Everything is going to be wired up the same exact way it was. Okay. Leave it on. All right, let's go downstairs. Okay. And the final touch. Actually, the final touch will be put a staple in this. hoping this one doesn't fall apart on me, but I did get a light just in case, because I figured one of these might. And I think it's gonna be this one. I just got one that would match what we have there. Hey, this one has a ground. Isn't that neat? And I got a pull string with an outlet. Well, the lights are hooked up. Let's turn that breaker on. Okay, I forgot. I gotta put that light in. Put that up there. Okay. Flip the light. Nice. Definitely want to change this out soon. Okay, let's see what we're dealing with. All right, let's flip that breaker on. Working. We have a light. I can't tell you how excited I am that there's a light here. It's so much brighter. Now you can see a little better, I would think. So the electrical or the wiring is all set. So now I know I can keep attaching this drywall. So let's do that. So this stud right here, this is for an old wall, and this is the new wall. And when I built this, it just didn't work out. It didn't line up. But I'm not going to cut this. What I'm going to do is just add a piece right here, and that'll bump that out. So I'll make this straight, somewhat straight, straight enough. So whatever this gap is, 1/4 inch. Let's make some dust. I'm just going to throw this in with some pin nails, and then the drywall screws will hold it in when I put the drywall on. I'm also going to measure out for this and cut the hole in the drywall before I even put it up there. This can move around a little bit, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'll measure to the top, 1.5 inches, and then to this side, 1.5 inches and 19 3/4. Cutting it from the back side gives a much cleaner cut. I was just showing off earlier. Kind of cleaning this up as I go too. 19 3/4. The edge. 19 3/4, an 1.5 inches. And this is an old work box, just like what's there. I'm gonna line that up just like that. Should work. That's a pretty good fit. I do not recommend doing the bottom piece first. I find it to be harder. That's pretty good. So now I'm going to take a pry bar, and there's a little bit of a gap right here. So I'm just going to put it in the bottom, close that gap up if I can. That's good. I'm gonna put a seam, a butt seam, right here because I don't want to waste these pieces. These measurements are awful. 49.5 on some of these, so I use just over half a sheet. So I'm going to piece this together. So 32 inches right on that stud. I'll write that down, but I'm also going to measure out for this door because I'm going to cut that so I don't get dust all over the place. I'll cut that in the basement. I'm going to use my drywall saw. Cut this out. Less dust. And I can snap this. I'm actually gonna put a seam right here because I'm gonna be taping this corner anyways, so it's really not gonna matter being this close, because I don't want to cut a piece 48 3/4 and waste a sheet, and I don't want to get 10-footers because I have a 5.5 foot bed on my truck. So I'm gonna cut this right here, 45.5, half on this, and then I'll fill that piece in. All right, so this insulation is pushing against this drywall quite a bit. So I'm going to have to compress it and try and get this drywall to be tight on these studs. Nice. I'm going to put this piece right in place, a full sheet, and then I'll cut this out. I just want to get an idea of where this stops right here, so I don't put screws right here for no reason. About 16.5. I measure my piece. 16.5-ish. Now I need to do this little area, And I waited on this because I want to do insulation, and I didn't want to put it in there and potentially have it fall out within an hour. So I'm going to put the insulation in, and then I will drywall this. Now I'm not going to waste this piece. I'm going to take it and use it for right here. Yeah, I think that'll compress when I put the drywall on there. Okay, do the other side. Now we can do this. I'm going to do these side pieces first, and what I like to do with something like this is to draw a picture. So these are the easy ones. Straight here, straight here. This is square, and then I have up here, goes like this, and then drops down slightly, and then over here, come up a little bit, and then I just connect those. So my piece is going to look a little something like this. And then I take measurements. Okay, now we go cut it. I am a little short on drywall, but I'm going to try and make this piece work. So it might be a little shy in some spots. I'm okay with that. I'd rather do that than go buy another sheet of drywall. Before I even put it up here, I know it's going to be short. I don't want to surprise myself. That's not bad. Especially because we have drywall going here and I have a piece going here. Okay, now we check, see if it's going to work on the other side. Just like this. Even shorter on this side, but it'll work. Cool, that way we don't have to measure it again. We can just take this and mark it. There, now I can actually make it a little bit longer. Right up here. Nice. Now I'm going to do corner bead, which is just like a metal piece that goes around here that you mud over. So we'll do 9 7/8, 32 3/8, a little shy, 30. It's not perfect. Got messed up in transport. Secure it with drywall nails. And just line this up so it's nice and even. Just want to make sure no metal is loose. I think that's kind of loose. It'll just give you trouble when you go to mud it. Now I can push this box in and tighten up these tabs. Don't have to go crazy. There you go. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Mudding or doing joint compound is not really something you can learn from just watching a video. You have to just do it. You can learn about basic tools, basic products, but you just have to kind of do it. And everybody has their own technique, so watch a bunch of videos, not just mine. I'll tell you how I do it, and you can do whatever you want. I like to use Durabond 90 on the tape coat. This is not something that you're going to be able to sand. That's why I only use it for the tape coat. It is a chemical cure where the stuff that you buy in a bucket like this is just something that dries. So the chemicals in this bag, when you add water to it, do their thing and it hardens like concrete. Not really like concrete, but when you sand it, you're probably going to sand the drywall paper off before you sand this off. So beware. And you only have about an hour working time with this. The 90 stands for the setting time, so it sets in about 90 minutes. That's nice when you're doing multiple coats. But basically, I'm just gonna open this up, mix up as much as I think I'm gonna use in an hour, and I like to do like a half an hour, so I'm not gonna go crazy here. Clean buckets, as clean as you can get. Clean water, as clean as you can get. Mine is nasty because there's something going on locally with my water. I have town water, and that's as clean as I can get it. So I'm just gonna mix this up and start mudding. One more thing before I mix this up is these are the tools that I'm gonna use: 6-inch tape and knife and a 14-inch finishing trowel. I believe this is actually made for concrete finishing, but I use it for mudding, and I use this for every coat. Some people like to use a bucket or a hawk that's kind of like this, but it's a big square. With this, I can actually use this to pull the compound as well as the 6-inch knife. So again, it's up to you, but this is what I use. I'm going to use this mixing wand with a drill. Mix this up good. And make sure all that powder's mixed up. All right, all mixed up, ready to go. Now I'm just gonna take some of this. This is about the consistency I like it. Load it up on my finishing trowel, and I have my nifty little tape holder that I made, just a little hook, so I can have that on me so I'm not bending down 100 times. And we can start mudding. Grab a little mud, start right here, like that. Not too much, not too little. And you are gonna make a mess. If this is the first time doing it, definitely gonna make a mess. Okay, now I can add some tape. I'm gonna try to reach all the way over here, at least get a rough estimate of how long this is. I can just rip it. This. Put a crease in it. I use this paper tape in the corners. And I guess I'll start over here. Make my way that way. I have to jump from ladder to stool over and over again. Try and get it nice and square in the corner. Now, basically take my 6-inch knife and try and take out a bunch of that mud from behind the tape. If you don't have enough mud on the backside there, the tape will start to bubble out. but you also don't want a huge clump. Same thing on this side. And that's all I do for a tape coat. Sometimes I'll go and put another coat over the tape, like a first coat on one side, because I don't like to use a corner trowel. I've used them before, I don't like them. So I do this side and then I do that side once this side cures. But that's it, moving on. Now I'm gonna do that same thing for these other 3 corners. Make sure you fill in any of these gaps. I'm going to do this one in 2 pieces. I'll make it easier. While I'm here, I'll hit all these screws. See that one? There's an example why I keep my Phillips screwdriver on me. So I can just tighten it just a little bit. These misses. Now I'm going to do this flat seam here. Just fill up the seam. And you can see this is not smooth anymore because it's starting to cure. That's okay. It's okay on a tape coat. What I used to use on flat seams was mesh tape, and I have heard that you can use it if you're using hot mud, quote unquote, which is what this is. It's the stuff you mixed as a chemical cure. But I've had cracking before and I just haven't had good luck with it. So I always use Fibofuse now, and I've had really good luck with it. One tip, wear gloves, because these are little tiny pieces of fiberglass. They can come off in your hand. It's nothing bad, just kind of annoying. Kind of gets all over the place. So we use it up here. Try and get in the middle of that seam, all the way to the end, and wipe it clean. The thing about this is all that mud is, like the name states, fusing with this tape. Oops, that's okay. See, that would be a problem with paper tape, but that's not a problem now. So once you get that set in pretty good, I like to go over this one more time. Just a real thin coat. Here's an example of how I can use my trowel. Hold my mud with the 6-inch knife, and then just wipe it clean. I'll do the screw holes while I'm here. Now we can move on to the 4 corners. So, a little tip. If your mud starts drying up on you, like mine is, I'm wasting too much time. What I like to do is, before it goes totally bad, I like to use it up on corner bead, if you have it, because you can put a lot on here, and you're going to be going over this multiple times, so it doesn't need to be super smooth the first time. So, See all those chunks. That's okay on the first coat. And the more you kind of smooth this out, the smoother it will get. Do that a couple times. That should help. If this was too chunky, I wouldn't do this at all, but this really isn't too bad. Here's something I saw recently that I'm going to try. I am actually going to put tape over here, and I think it might come out a lot smoother. So, right over the metal where it attaches to the drywall. Yes. I don't know. This is the first time I've done it, so we'll see how it works out. You learn something new every day, you know? I think that tape actually, my thought is that it's gonna make this more smooth, and it definitely helped, especially with this mud being the way it was. So, nice. I think I'm gonna do that to this side too. And you gotta try and be careful not to mess this side up when you're doing this. So, what I like to do is carefully, like this, from the side. Because I don't know if I'm doing any kind of trim or baseboard or anything. Probably not. So I'm probably going to run a piece of tape all along the bottom. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. Here is the same thing I do with paper tape, but it's just not a right angle. Get that nice and even so it looks good. All right, I think that's as much as I can do with that bucket of mud. I'm gonna clean it up really well. That's another thing, is to keep your tools, your bucket, everything clean. And then I can mix up some more and do the rest of this. But that's basically how you do it. Corners, flat seams, corner bead, and this. You can probably do this a little better, but it actually looks pretty good. So right here, I did some flat tape, which I put the tape right down to the floor and mudded this in, because I don't think I'm doing baseboard here because of the area, but I'll make it look a little bit nicer with little effort. I'm going to do the same thing here and all the way around, including right here. I think that'll just make it a little nicer. So this coat is what's known as the tape coat, and I'm going to let this cure overnight, and then we can do what is known as the first coat. You would think this is the first coat, but it's actually the tape coat. So let this cure. We'll get back to it tomorrow. So the tape coat is cured, and before I do the first coat, I go along with my 6-inch knife and just scrape down all this stuff, and in the corners try and get any of the high spots or the little cuckas like this right here, any little piece of dried up mud can get in your mud and drive you nuts. It'll scrape and it'll leave this long track. So just go along, scrape any of that stuff, clean it all up before you start mudding. So here's a good example. Pardon my poor mudding job. This is when the mud was starting to dry up. But something like this little piece right here, even something that small will get in your mud and drive you nuts. So make sure you scrape it down good. And then on these corners, same thing. Just scrape all this. I like to do one full side like this, nice and flat. And then I do this side, nice and flat. And then I go right up the middle. Kind of roll the knife around like this. Just like that. You have some options when it comes to the first to the last coat. I'm going to use this. This is USG with dust control. This actually does work pretty well when you're sanding. It's a little less dusty. You can use blue top mud or green top. It's from the same company, just doesn't have the dust control. The green top, the only difference is it's a little heavier. The blue is a little easier to work with, but you could get some bubbles because it spreads a lot easier. I'll show you how to avoid that. You can also use a mix, a powder that's like an easy sand would work. They have 20, they have 5, 90. They chemically cure just like the Durabond, but it's totally up to you. I'm going to use this, but what I do to make it go on the wall smoother is I add a cup of water, about this much. Product placement. Add that there. And then I'll mix it up. And be careful here. Don't want this flying all over the kitchen. Some people will actually add dish soap to this. Apparently it goes on the wall smoother with that, but I haven't tried it. And the good thing about this stuff, the premix stuff, is that you have a lot more time to work with it, and that's why I like to use it. So I can stop at any time. Okay, so all I want to do is cover the tape. So I hit one side of these corners and let it dry, and then I'll do the other side on the next coat. But this is very boring, so I'm not going to bore you with all the details. Just cover the tape. Put it on thin, but thick enough where it covers the tape. Just put a little more pressure towards this side to try and taper that. Try and get it nice and tight to the wall. Easier said than done. This is where you have to just practice. It's a good idea to keep your tools clean. Just rinse them off every once in a while with water, because this stuff does start to dry up and you will get some little dried up pieces in your mud, and that's never good. So when I do my flat seams, first of all, I want to try and be careful because that is still wet. But I pull them out a little further than the tape coat, something like that. And I'm just applying my mud with my 6-inch. And again, this is, the technique's all up to you. I got some dried up stuff in here, probably from this corner. Usually you can get rid of that as you spread this mud. And I pull it out to about here. I'll do this whole thing first, and then I'll show you what I do. Just kind of put this on very roughly to start. I need more mud, but I'm gonna start pulling this from over here. I use my 14-inch knife. Make sure it's clean. Go in the middle. Putting more pressure here than here. Top and the middle. Just kind of keep doing that till it gets nice and smooth and tapered. This excess. And then now with this box, if it was just the box here and not the outlet, I could skim over this whole thing, but I want to be careful because the outlet's there. Kind of a pain. That's okay. Okay. I'm gonna leave it alone now. That looks pretty good. So then the next one, the second coat, will go out a little further. It'll fill in all that and it'll taper this so it'll look more flat. If you get this on the floor, no worries. Cleans up with some water. I'm gonna go nice and tight to the floor. Like that. So I think do it like this. That might work. Let's see. This is a very unique situation. I don't expect you to have to do this, but I guess you can just sand it. Here's an issue you get with paper tape. This is bubbling, and it's just gonna keep doing that. So I'm just gonna cut it out right here. And that's caused by not enough mud on the back side of the tape. I'm not even going to show how I did this because it's really hacky. But this little corner right here is a mess. So I'm going to rely on lots of coats and lots of sanding. Anyways, I'll show how these screw holes get filled. Maybe at the end, the bloopers, because that's where it belongs, because it's hilarious. First coat is done. And this stuff you definitely need to let dry overnight. The other stuff cures pretty quick, but I'm going to turn on a dehumidifier and that'll help to dry this out overnight. So first coat is dry. Now the second coat, first thing, just want to scrape everything down. Your first coat might look a little something like this depending on how good you are. You're probably better than me because this doesn't look that great. But for the second coat, the goal is to expand these, basically pull these out, taper them out a little more, the flat seams, get the other side of the corners, cover that tape, and hit the screw holes again. And I am mudding all along the bottom instead of doing baseboard in here, so I'm going to hit that again. And basically just put another thin layer on top of what you already have here. And just carefully scrape this, same way we did before. Oops, try not to do that. Okay, we're putting more mud on it, but try not to do that. And then, this is all kind of tricky for me without making a mess, but you can clean up all your whoopsies if you have stuff like this. I can sand this stuff afterwards too. But this stuff comes off really easily. You can even use a wet sponge to clean this up, which I might do on the wood. And then in this corner, I didn't actually do too terrible. Last time I used this, which I probably should have stopped and thought a little bit. What I did was I cut out a piece of plastic, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but that'll get me much closer back here, and I'll be able to just kind of bring this mud out, make it a little nicer so that it's easier to sand and make look good. And this will work on the other side too. So just things like that you gotta think of. Look at that. Big old crusty. I'm starting to get some crusties in here, so I'm going to add some water. That should help. So this is how far I bring it out on the second coat compared to the first coat right here. And then on the next one, I'll bring it out a little further. This is how I do it anyways. You can do it however you want. And it gets easier as you go because you can pull the mud tighter. So really this is kind of ready for sanding, this right here, but sometimes if I don't taper it enough right here, you can tell. So what I like to do on my second and third coats is I go along and mud right here, and then I just pull it tight like this, and it'll fill in and kind of feather that out, and that'll be easier to sand. You won't have to sand as much. I'll do the same thing on this one here. Then I have a little spot where I crossed over on the two swipes, so I can mud that, like that. Anything that'll make it easier for you to finish it, that's what you can do. Hit the screw holes. Some people will go all the way like this. Here, I'll show you. They'll do this. More like that. And then they'll go. But I'm sure I could get good at that. I just don't do it because I'm not going for speed. That's the benefit of that, I guess. Just. But it's not my thing. All around the top here. Do that. And final coat, same exact thing. Scrape it and make these a little wider. I could probably sand this right now and be fine, but why not? I'm gonna pull this really tight so it'll get really smooth. It's easier to do now that we're doing the third coat. You can put it on real thin and it'll make it a lot easier, a lot less sanding if you do it that way. So I'm gonna scrape this and do my last coat. So I already hit both sides of my corners, so I'm just gonna go along and touch things up, like right here where I took a pass all the way up and all the way down, and it just so happened to meet right here. So it's not perfect, so to make the sanding easier, I'm just gonna put a little mud right there. And believe it or not, just that one little pass is gonna probably save me 10, 15, 20 seconds of sanding. So I'll do that wherever I see stuff like that, right here. Flatten that out. Right here. And you could do a whole nother pass if you wanted to and pull it real tight. But that's up to you. I think I'm gonna be good with that. And then hit all the screw holes one more time, because why not? It's hard to see, but you can definitely feel it. There's a big spot right here, and this whole thing right here can be feathered out. So I'll hit that. That's perfect. All the videos that I've ever seen about mudding, I've never seen anybody do that, but I've just experienced that helping me a lot. So maybe I haven't seen it because it's not right. I don't know, but it works for me. I can put a lot more pressure on now and just make this nice and smooth. Feather it out. Let's be careful along the edges and around this switch. And sanding will take care of the rest. I like to make sure there's plenty of mud on here before I start wiping it clean. Just try and bring the mud out even with this box if you can. But with this, I'm going to fill in this low spot here and basically connect these two. And then I might bring this up a little more at the top. I'll put plenty of mud right here. Drop a whole bunch. I'd have to clean this trowel. Some dried up stuff getting on there. Need more mud. See if I can clean this up a little bit. See if my handy dandy tool that I made it works. Get as far as I can with this knife. I think it works better to get in there. It's a hard spot. Don't touch it. That side's done. So I may end up skim coating this whole side. And skim coating is basically just covering the entire wall with a thin layer of joint compound. I'm just trying to get into all these little nooks in the corner without messing up the other side of the corner. And I'm spreading this mud out all over the wall, and then I'll smooth it out flat. As flat as I can anyways. A little easier to get in on this side because this isn't sticking out as much. Now let's see if I can get in here. Just a couple more things. This under here. If there's anything that I don't like more than mudding, it is sanding, but it is a very important step when you're trying to make perfectly smooth walls and ceilings. There are different types of finishes for walls and ceilings. There's textured, there's plaster, probably a bunch of different ones. If somebody tells you that they can mud your walls and your ceilings and not have to sand and they'll be perfectly smooth, they're either lying or they're not that good, and it might look a little bit like a texture. So I'm not the best at mudding, but I am able to do it, and I'm able to sand it and finish it so that it looks nice. And that's the whole point of this. I'm not trying to teach you how to be the most professional taping and mudding and taper wall finisher ever. I'm just trying to teach you how to be able to do it yourself and have a nice outcome at the end of the day. So let's get to it. My very first tip is to start from the bottom and work your way up. The ceiling is actually the hardest part because you're sanding like this if you're using a sanding sponge, and getting up on a ladder and making sure that's good. I usually like to do the harder stuff first, but in this case, if you take a look here, I started this on purpose so you could see. Now I can't get in here and see what I have to sand and make nice against the floor. In my case, I'm not doing baseboard, but this can accumulate up to where you actually will need to sand it. If you look on the other side, I can see all this, and I can start from here and work my way up. That way I know that this is done, and as I'm working my way up, if it gets covered, that's no big deal. So that's my first tip. Start from the bottom and work your way up. And while we're here, let's start right here. Since I'm not doing baseboard, I'm going to start by scraping up all this along the bottom. I'm just going to use a chisel because that's going to make it go way quicker, and I actually have to sand this a little bit because all that's getting painted as well. Just scrape this up. You will probably not have to do this, although you will have to clean the mud off of your floor. And to be safe, on a nice finished floor, you can use a wet sponge or just a wet paper towel, and that'll work fine. So now that's all set, and we'll start down here. Before you start sanding an entire room, it's a good idea to wear a mask, and if you can, put up some plastic, shut the door. This dust is so fine, it gets everywhere. So if you want your significant other to be happy, take the steps to protect yourself and protect the rest of the house. I like to have multiple sanding devices on hand, and a good place to start is something like a fine sanding sponge. This is fine, or it's probably around 150 grit. I also like to use 220. Really, I have in the past used a 220 grit sanding sponge for an entire bedroom. If you have a lot of square foot to cover, you can use something like this. I have to change this out, but this is a drywall sander that goes on a sanding pole. I don't use it so much in the corners. You just got to be careful because this can pop and make a mark, and you will be upset at yourself if that happens. Another tip for in the corners, if you have a sponge like this that has an edge like this and some angles, you can get into these corners and make those real nice. This one is obviously a little weathered, so we're not even going to use that. If you don't have an angled one, you can cut it like I did here, and this has actually lasted a lot longer than that one. So that's what I'm going to use to get right in those corners. I'm going to start down here with a fine sanding sponge because there is a little bit of a hump right here, and it kind of depends on how much you have to sand. This is actually pretty coarse compared to a 220. So I'm going to switch between the two. When I have like a big, I'll say clump, I'll use the fine, and then when it's not as bad, I'll use the 220. Yet another tip for you. A nice big bright light to highlight how bad you are at mudding. For instance, if you take a close look at this, it doesn't look too bad. But if you shine a giant light on it, it looks like my 3-year-old did it. That's okay. That's what sanding's for. So I'm going to start with the fine sanding sponge. The whole goal of this is to make the wall smooth. So let's try it. Look at that. I'll take my 220. And that didn't take long at all. So that's it. And you might think that we could stop the video right here, but I have a lot more tips to share, so keep watching. Oh, I want to show you an example in here of why I like using sponges that are angled like this. As I said, you can get in nice and tight here, like this, and then do the other side. And this is the hardest part in here. You really got to be careful and go in here and just try and make it smooth. At the end of all the sanding, once you clean everything up and before you prime and paint, I have seen a lot of people go in here and just use some caulking to make this perfect. That's not a bad idea at all. I want to show you an example of why I don't just use a square sponge. You might be thinking you can just use this in the corner, but if you're sanding like this, you can make the corner nice, but you can see what I just did is I made a nice line right here that looks terrible. So that's why I like using these angled ones, and I'm careful, and hopefully I didn't make it so that I hit the paper. That's okay. I might have to do a little more work in the corner, but make it smooth, like something like that. This area is perfect now. Just try not to go down so far that you hit the paper. Once you hit the paper, stop immediately, and you should be good to be able to paint it and cover it up, and it should be okay. If you hold the light directly towards what you're trying to sand, I'm going to use this whole thing as an example, it doesn't look that bad. So what you have to do is hold it off to the side like this, and it'll really highlight this. And if you're able to use a nice bright light like this to look from the side to make it smooth as you're sanding, you're never going to be able to see it with the natural light of the room, unless the sun comes in and hits it at a certain point. But that's the whole idea behind this, is to make it perfect with this light so that it will always be perfect no matter what light is shining at it. Let's take this corner, sand that down, and then feather this edge, and I'll hit this screw at the same time. And this is just to show you an example of about how long it takes. I'm going to use just 220 and start here and work my way out. And make it nice. Careful in the corner. Little spot right here. And the screw hole. And that's pretty much it. You run your hand along here, and you'll be able to feel it if it's got imperfections, but that looks pretty good. A little more work in the corner. Nice. This is such a small area that I normally would just do all of this with a sanding sponge, but I want to show you how this pole sander works and show you how to change out this paper. We'll call it paper. It's really a mesh, but you just loosen these up. Get rid of that. The reason this is a mesh is because it helps to kind of distribute the drywall dust and it doesn't really gum up like normal sandpaper would. Eventually, it looks like that. That's when you know it's time to change it out. Fold this over, kind of like an old school sanding block. Yeah, something like that. Cool. And this is the most aggressive I will go. You can get a machine that actually has a rotating sanding head and you can do an entire room. It has a vacuum attached to it, and that is super simple if you have the machine or if you want to rent it, but you got to be careful because you can just burn through the mud really quick and you can hit tape and you can get really frustrated after doing an entire room and you look close and you see a bunch of tape spots. If you're not experienced with it, you could make a mess. So this is all about how you can do this yourself with minimal tools. This is the most aggressive I will go. And I lost my painting pole. I have no idea where it went. I think I let somebody borrow it and I never got it back. So I'm gonna use a broom handle and I'm just gonna be really careful. I'll turn my light on so I can see. So when you're using a sanding pole like this, you don't wanna go straight on like this. Obviously this is good for hard to reach places like the ceiling, but the way to hold it is at an angle. So as an example, I'll put my hand right here because you don't want to hit another wall as well. This is a really tight space, so that's why I don't want to use it. But I would start right here like this and just nice and easy start sanding. See, I just bumped the wall back here, but I didn't put a hole in it because my hand is there. And you can be careful and do the corners like this. And that's as far as I'm gonna go with that. The nice thing about this is it's wider, so it's gonna flatten the seam out a little more, taper it out nice. So I have my light set up here, and I'll show you as an example these spots right here. Take my sanding pole, and after a couple passes, it's completely gone. Now there are streaks in this, so I'm going to hit everything with the 220, but this would take off the bulk of what you're trying to get off there. So if I hit this with my 220, it'll take away all these marks, and I'm going to taper this edge right here. And it's not going to take much. Nice and quick. And then right here. Just like that. Next up, corner bead. I'm just jumping around here just so I can give you different examples and give you my tips. So from here to here, all you want to do, this is 220. Get all the big stuff off of here, a little line right here. And then for the actual corner bead, it's okay that you're seeing metal. In fact, that is the whole point of it. That's going to make a nice edge to paint. And if I turn the light on this side, I'll do the same thing. Here's a little bit of an abnormal situation. Typically, when you drywall and you do the mudding and taping, you don't have outlets or switches or anything like that in here, but I didn't want to move it. I didn't want to take it out. I wanted to just keep it there. So I kind of made a mess. This stuff comes off really easily. I can just break it off like this, but what I'm gonna do is take a plastic taping knife, just a small one, and just kind of clean this all up. The reason I'm using plastic might be obvious. If I miss and go in here to the hot side of this outlet, I won't get zapped. So just carefully clean all this up, and then you can even clean up around the edge so you don't have to get too close. Definitely don't use a wet sponge to clean up this outlet. And if you're uncomfortable with this, you can turn the power off. Here's another abnormal situation. If you watched my last video,
I know you're dying to see how this comes out, because I had a lot of trouble right in this little area, just a tight little corner. So let's see if we can make it look nice. So I'm going to start with my chisel and clean up this stuff here, and then I'm going to carefully chip this stuff off, and right here all the way. Okay. I'll try and get this clump right here. And this actually is definitely not straight. So I'm gonna very carefully use a chisel to try and take some of this mud out of here. I'm gonna use some sandpaper on my little special plastic tool that I use to actually mud this, so I can get right in this corner here. I really hope you don't have to do this, but if you do, hope this helps. It's not bad. And actually, this might be really good for the corners. Did I just discover a new cool tool? Maybe. Let me know. What do you think? So those are my big tips for sanding and making the walls and ceiling perfectly smooth. Apply that to the entire thing. This little basement stairwell might take me an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So, next tip, wear your mask, put on some headphones, listen to some music, and try not to go nuts. I'm gonna sand this out. Sometimes if you're careful and you got a big clump of stuff, you can take like this 6-inch taping knife, just kind of carefully scrape it off like that. There was a big chunk there. I can sand the rest. Now, don't go too far with these screw holes. There's still like a little circle like this left. That's fine, as long as you can't feel it. So I gotta be careful not to mess anything up. I've done everything up to where I need ladders. I have my sweatshirt here so that when it leans against the wall, it doesn't mark it up, hopefully. Carefully there, because that is the only way to set the ladder up, unfortunately. And I am going to use the sanding pole on the ceiling because it's kind of awkward. Okay, so this is why I hate this. If you look, it's a mess. But we're all sanded out. I went around real carefully with my bright light. I got everything nice and smooth, all the corners nice and crisp. So now just got to clean all this up before the wife gets home. Now, your natural reaction is going to be to want to clean up the floor because there's piles of dust, but these walls have to be pretty dust free when you go to prime them and paint them, because as you paint them or prime them, the dust will start sticking in your paintbrush and your roller, and it'll leave clumps everywhere. So you need to get the dust off of here. What I like to do is I use a very soft paintbrush, something like this, and I'm just gonna go along and wipe down everything like this. But what I figured out in the past couple years is to do that, but at the same time, instead of putting the dust on the floor, I'm going to attach it to a shop vac attachment here. Do something like this, and that way, as I clean, the shop vac will clean up some of that dust, and I'll start from the ceiling and work my way down, get all the walls, and then do the floor. Now I'm just going to use some wet paper towels to clean up this. And now that that dust is gone, I can see I have a little bit right here that doesn't look perfect. And you can actually use a wet sponge to sand this stuff, although I haven't had great luck with it. But if you get good at it, sometimes it's even a better finish because it fills in all the imperfections. But just fix that, and then I can easily clean up all of the stuff that I got on the floor here. Okay, maybe not easily. It's gonna take some effort. I think I need a screwdriver to get in there because it's a little tight. And I'll go around and just get off all this stuff. I'm gonna paint this. Probably paint it the wall color. A lot of it's gonna be covered up by shelving, but I might as well clean it up. And then there's the basement stairs that look like basement stairs. I don't know, should I paint them? Maybe, we'll see. One thing at a time, but I will clean up the handrail. I have my painting clothes on. Always good to have painting clothes. And I'm ready to prime, but first, before I do that, I made a little diagram here, and I'm gonna write down where all the studs are because I'm doing shelving in here, and instead of using a stud finder and trying to find studs, if I measure where the screw holes are right now, I'll know exactly where they are, and I'll have a lot easier of a time when I go to install everything. So I will do that, write it down here, then I'll get to priming. So now I have all my measurements for where my studs are. You might not understand this, but I do, and that's the important thing. If you do the same thing, just make sure you understand it, so when you go to actually find the studs, you can find them. In the past, I have used the paint and primer combined into one paint. A lot of companies are doing that now, and it's okay. I've used it in a couple rooms, but just to be safe, from here on out, I'm using something that is actually designed for this. It's designed to do the fresh drywall and joint compound, kills PVA primer. It's water-based, it doesn't stink like other oil-based primers do. And if you're doing a glossy finish, it's not recommended for it, but I'm doing like an eggshell in here, so it's gonna work perfect for that. This goes on just like regular paint. You can spray it if you want. I'm gonna brush it and roll it, and then after 2 hours, I'll be able to paint this. So we'll start with this. Typically, you're not gonna have lights already installed, but I have mine, so I'm gonna take it out carefully. It's gonna snap on my fingers. I should be able to just let this hang, and I should be able to still turn it on. Cool. Now I can go around this and not hit the light. So I already know that there's gonna be touch-ups. The primer highlights any places that need to be touched up, and then you do those touch-ups and sand them out and paint. I am painting this as well, so I'm not worried about getting this primer on it, although I'm not going to use this primer to prime it. I'm going to use an oil base because this is not made for stain blocking, and I don't think it'll do a very good job on the raw wood here. So I can be nice and messy with this. So when you start to prime, you start to see stuff like this, and this is what I was talking about that I'm gonna have to touch up. That was filled with dust before, so I couldn't tell they were there, but now they're not, so I'm gonna have to touch them up. Landing on pretty thick in some spots to try and fill in some of the little pinholes. I'm gonna be priming all this wood too, painting that. Why not? Eventually, I don't know if I'm gonna do it right now, but well, really, you don't have to put primer on as thick as paint. I do it in the corners like that because it covers up a lot of the imperfections. It's like an extra layer of paint. Yeah, I'm gonna hit. I might have to do the top half first. And that's how I do the corner bead. Just Just roll it this side, roll it that side, make sure it's a clean edge. If you have to, you can clean it up like this in spots. Looks good. So there's gonna be shelving going on top of this. I'm still gonna paint it, but I wanna prime it first. And before I prime it, I'm gonna sand it. For right now, I'm just gonna do this whole top and then this little piece right here. You can see there's some staining. I wanna hit that with oil-based primer. So just this and this for now. I think I'm gonna do this at a later time, probably something with the stairs. For now, just this. I'm gonna use Zinsser cover stain. This is low VOC, although it does stink pretty bad, but not as much as a lot of the oil-based primer. This is made for smoke damage and staining, and it's good stuff. But it is oil-based, so I'm gonna paint all of this with this little brush because I hate cleaning brushes, so I'm just gonna throw this one away. Hate cleaning brushes that have oil-based paint on them. Quick and dirty. Primer doesn't have to totally cover. Now I'm gonna do some touch-ups, and this all depends on how picky you wanna get. If you want your walls to be absolutely perfect, you can spend all month in here. But to be honest with you, if I wasn't filming this, I would probably just paint right now. But I wanna show you how to do this. There's different levels of drywall finishing, from not even doing a tape coat and leaving the screws exposed, no joint compound, all the way up to making your walls look pristine. And I don't have to go crazy in here, but I want to show you. What I'm going to do is take some masking tape, and I'm going to put this on all of the touch-ups because the stuff that I'm going to use cures very quickly, and I don't want to have to search for everything again. So I'm going to go around with a light and hold it sideways against the wall and look for any imperfections. And I'm going to be honest, I did a pretty good job on this because I'm not finding a lot, but there are some. So let me show you an example of a couple. So right here in the corner, you can see there's a little line right here, and then a couple of these bubbles that get exposed once all the dust is out of them. So I'll put a piece of tape right here, and then I'll move on. This stuff right here is just some stuff that was in the primer that will actually, I'm going to sand these walls again really lightly, and I should be able to sand that right off, so I'm not going to worry about stuff like that. I'm looking for divots more than anything. There's some right here, some more of those. There's two right here, right in the middle. This right here is a screw hole that I sanded a little bit too much, so I'll hit that. This looks really good. I've surprised myself. I'm going to use Easy Sand 5 to do these patches. I don't need a ton, so I'm just going to mix it on this cardboard. This stuff sets up in about 5 minutes. That's why I marked everything first, and I'm only going to mix up what I think I need. I'm just going to grab some like this, and what you'll notice is this is pretty much the same color as joint compound and even the color of that primer. So in order to be able to find my patches, I'm going to add some blue chalk to this, and that way it'll stick out so I'll know where I need to sand. I'll try not to make a mess. Try. Also, I use blue chalk because it doesn't show through the paint like red or black can show through the paint. I'll just mix this up good, mix it up quick. Okay, that's it. Like I said, go as crazy as you want, but that's all I needed. So it's been about 20 minutes and these are ready to sand. So take my 220, just give it a quick little sand. Now I want to very quickly and carefully sand this entire thing with my pole sander. I just don't want to accidentally flip it and make a gouge and have to do another patch. I'll show you a quick example right here without putting it on the pole. This little piece that I was telling you about, it's going to take care of stuff like that and overall make this entire thing smooth. So if I take this and show you, just a couple passes, and that is all smooth. So I'm going to do that for this entire thing. All right, it is time to paint. I'm going to start with the ceilings. I'm going to consider this a ceiling and this a ceiling, so I'm going to do this and that flat white. I'll do these sides the wall color. Here's a little tip for you. If you don't buy the most ridiculously expensive rollers, they're always going to have some fuzzies that sometimes come off in the paint. And what I like to do, you can use painter's tape, but this duct tape isn't actually great duct tape, so it's not going to stick really good to this, but it will stick enough to pull up these fuzzies. Just kind of press that in, and then as I peel this away, you'll be able to see on here, there's some hair and fuzzies, and that way they stick to the tape and not to the wall as you're painting. I'm not going to bore you with the details of painting. I'm not great at it, so you don't want my advice anyways. Just put the paint on the wall and on the ceiling. Okay, my one and only tip. I do the ceiling first, and then I purposely get some of the ceiling paint on the wall right just in this corner. That way it makes it easier to cut in afterwards because it kind of fills in and makes a nice straight edge. That's what I've found anyways. As long as you clean it up and make it nice, kind of like that. Okay, ceiling's all set. We can put our light back up here. I love these lights. Low profile halo. Video is not sponsored by Halo, but I love these lights. Now we can do the wall color. Now I have the size roller that I like to use. This is 3/8, and I'm going to do my little get the fuzzies off of it trick. All of these rollers, no matter what the price, tend to advertise shed free. So I don't know what to go with without, I don't know, just buying the most expensive one and hoping for the best. But this usually does the trick. Okay, so I'm using some Benjamin Moore paint. This is actually leftover from this wall in the kitchen. I have about a half a gallon. I'm not sure if it's going to cover. I hope it will, so I don't have to buy another gallon, but I think it's going to be close. We'll see. It's called Iced Cube Silver. So again, not going to bore you with a bunch of details about painting, but I will say that the more expensive paint does matter. I don't know about rollers, but I think I'm done buying cheap paint. So this stuff is really nice paint. Now I just hope I have enough. I'm going to paint this floor the same color. I like to cut in one wall at a time and then roll it before I move on to the next wall. The goal is to try and keep the paint wet the entire wall so it blends and you don't have flashing. That's going to be hard to do if I have to keep taking this pole off. So if I did like the rest of this wall and did this last and the paint started drying up, this might flash where it would have a different sheen to it Like this is an eggshell. It might have like more flat in some spots. Not that it really matters on this wall because there's going to be shelving and a bunch of stuff covering this all up, but I'm also not doing a back, so you're going to see the paint, but I'd rather try and do it the right way. I should be able to use the rolling pole for the rest of this. So I have run out of paint as far as being able to roll. I'm going to try and brush the rest of this, and then on my second coat I'll use the roller, and that will give it the same texture as everything else. Right now, wrap that up and then just use this. Actually didn't come out too bad. Second coat, same thing. This paint was not $50. This paint for a gallon was $70. A pretty expensive can of paint, but it's worth it. Worth it to get good paint. So we're all sanded out, primed, patched, 2 coats of ceiling paint, 2 coats of wall paint, and I think it came out really good. It's only one thing left to do. Put shelves in here and fill it up with stuff. And I could do this a million different ways. I thought about it a lot. Here's what I came up with. Store-bought shelving units. I know, why would you spend all this time doing this project and then you just buy store-bought shelving units? Well, first of all, these are cheap, 40 bucks a piece, and I got 3 of them. Only 2 are gonna fit in here, but I'm gonna do something kind of custom with the 3rd. So stay tuned. In the meantime, I'm gonna put 2 of them together and put them in place. So I got this all assembled to where I want it to be. The only thing I'm not doing is putting the back on, and there's a reason for that. Because I want to have my beautiful wall showing in the back, and I just really don't need it. Try not to bump into anything if I can. Put my first one tight in this corner. Yeah, and I know for a fact that this wall is plumb because I built it. So as long as it's tight to that, this is going to be plumb. This is about 25 inches wide and about 72 inches tall, I believe. This is going to be perfect because it's going to be difficult to get up on this top shelf anyways. So I can put bulk items up there, and the rest I should be able to reach pretty good. But I'm going to put the other one together, and that's going to come out to about right here. And I wanted this outlet in here, and that's one reason that I didn't want to put the backing on. So I'll put that one together, put it in place, and attach them, and then attach them to the wall so they don't go anywhere. Careful, careful. So now I'm gonna line this up, clamp it together to get it roughly where it needs to be, and I'm gonna attach these 2 together. Hopefully these screws are long enough. They're definitely not long enough. All right, I gotta get some screws that will be long enough to join these, but they won't go through the other side. There you go, something like that. I'm gonna use these 1¼ inch cabinet screws. They should work perfect. I'm gonna do them from this side because you're less likely to see them on this side. Shouldn't have to pre-drill. Let's see what happens. This clamp is not gonna be strong enough, but now it's lined up. Squeeze it. Perfect. I'll do one in the back here. more right here. If I put my level here, I just want to double check. And it is perfect. This is a little out. Oh, no, it's not. It's absolutely perfect. So I can go tight in that corner, tight to this wall, tight to that wall. I'm gonna put some screws and attach it in here. I know there's a stud right in the corner there. I'm gonna use some 2.5 inch screws, and these are actually painted white. So those will be hidden. I'm gonna do this at a slight angle because I wanna get enough material here, but I don't wanna miss that stud. Something like that should work. Nice. Okay, there's one. I have my little treasure map here for my studs, and I know that measuring off of this wall, going this way, 3 inches, I'll hit a stud. 3 inches there. One more at the bottom. Now we can get some here. Nice. So I ended up putting some shims on the bottom here. The middle is tight. I think this whole thing kind of bows up and then goes back down. So I put some shims on this side. I just wanted to make sure that this is plumb, which it is, and level and square. So we're looking good. Now the shelves will be nice and level as long as that is level. So now I check my map, and I'll mark my studs on the top, get a couple brackets up here. 1.5. Just gonna try and go into the studs. And these actually came with the bookshelf. These are an anti-tip bracket. I'm gonna use 2-inch cabinet screws to get into the studs, and then I'll attach it with the screws that they give you to go into the bookcase. Hit a stud. And there's a stud. Very, very useful marking out your studs before you paint. If you can see the screw holes, you did the taping job. Super helpful. You don't have to use a stud finder. You don't have to mess around by poking a nail in there, trying to find it. Little tip for you. Measure where that is. 7 inches. Not sure where this one is. 9. 7. And 9. I'll put some brackets under here. And I bought extra brackets. Just the little guys I'll put right here. That'll work. Perfect. I'm gonna say it. That's not going anywhere. Before we put the shelves in, let's put this cover on. Just kidding. And if I'm gonna do that cover, I might as well do these ones. Now I'm keeping the one original thing that was in this little area. Unfortunately, it only has one screw right now, so I'm gonna have to get another screw. This has to be clearly labeled anyways, so I might as well reuse this plate. I have my 2 shelving units in place, and you might be wondering, what's the third for? Well, the first thing is I always feel like I don't have enough shelves. I've had shelving like this before, and I don't think 3 movable shelves is enough. I could buy something like a melamine shelf, but for $40 for the entire unit, I'd probably be spending close to the same, and then I would have to make that little notch, and I'd have to buy these pins. So first thing I'm gonna do is put those shelves in here. Undoubtedly, these shelves are gonna move around over time, and you know, as soon as my wife gets home. But for now, let's just throw them in here. Now I want to do something with this little space right here. I'm going to hang my vacuum right here. I want to put a shelf from here to here. So I'll cut a cleat that will permanently attach here, and then a cleat that'll go against the wall, and cut the extra pieces from the other shelving unit. That's what I'm using them for. So we'll start there and do that. Yeah, I like it. I've got my shelf up here to continue this straight across on the top. Got my vacuum hung. Unfortunately, this is really the only way that I could route the wire because it doesn't come out any other place but the bottom. That's okay, I hugged it tight. I made a little bit of a mess on the wall back here, but I have a whole idea for this shelf that I'm not gonna do just yet. I'm gonna put a broom hanger kind of thing over here. So I'll hang that and I'll check back in with you. So here's another part of my plan. I'm gonna hang a shelf right here. It's just a little extra storage. Find my studs. 19, 39 and a quarter. 19, 39 and a quarter. Perfect. A level line across here, here. So these are the brackets I'm going to use. Hold them like this to my mark there. I'll do 2-inch cabinet screws. Unfortunately, these are not the ones with the white head. If you're wondering, a set of these is rated for 200 pounds. And now I'm going to use a leftover piece. I'm going to put this towards the top. So it's like this. And the only thing you're going to see are these right here, and I'll just do some stickers. I could do this, or I could do this, or I could split the difference. This isn't perfect right here, but I'm hoping when I put these screws in, maybe it'll suck it down tight and make it even. Let's see. I'm gonna hold this here. See what happens. Well, I'm gonna stop right here and get a game plan and figure out where everything's gonna go, but this is looking good. I like it. So we took some time and decided what is gonna go in here for now. This is what we came up with so far. Got some bulk items up top here. We got some outdoor stuff. We got diapers. We got overstock from the pantry, some small appliances, and all of this stuff, which is my camera stuff. And I need that here because I don't really have a place yet. I gotta make these videos. Maybe I'll do an office soon, maybe in the basement. But you didn't hear that from me. One thing that's always bothered me is this mess right here. And I had an idea for this from the start. And what I'm gonna do is use some of the leftover shelving to make this a little nicer. See if it works. I like to call this fall a particle board. Cool. Let's put it in place. I think that is awesome. All those wires are hidden and I can see everything. They're not all over the place. It'll work for now anyways, until I get an office. I don't know when that's going to be though. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was kind of a long process. I completely gutted this. It was dark, it was dingy. Now it's nice and bright. I can see everything. I have way more storage and I'm happy. And most importantly, the wife is happy. So I hope you enjoyed this entire project and I really appreciate you watching. If you want to see another video, it'll pop up somewhere here at the end after the outtakes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Run away, Lauren, run away.
Where do we go from here? Hi. Bless you.
Yep.
Ooh, Spidey. Get back here. This sawzall. Gotta go all the way downstairs for that. Ugh. What a pain in the ass. Well, that didn't work very well. That was kind of dumb. Ah! Place that I've never stood in my house before. Isn't that
So
cool? Look. Never stood here before. Okay. So don't really want to split these. So you've got to go in a strategic place. Where you split it like that. It wasn't strategic enough. Come on. What in the world? Come on, Matt. Wire number 2. Haha, I said number 2. Like a boss. Tight squeeze. Can I side hammer it? Oh my God. Why was that so easy? Man, it would suck if this ladder broke. Or if I fell.
It would suck if I have to throw this camera to the floor to save you.
Yeah. Just let me go. It's my time, it's my time. These are live, so I better not miss. I knew that was gonna happen. It's okay. It's okay that it broke. Don't cry, guys. And I can put that. I hate doing any kind of insulation. Don't worry about it. It's gonna work. I hope. Twisted it. Whatever. Hope I'm doing this right. Yes, I am cleaning up as I go because I don't want to track this all over the house. So that my wife goes, "Did you do drywall today? Did you do drywall?" Yeah, I did drywall. I'm doing the thing. Oh, because it's like white all over the floor. Yeah, I know, I did drywall. And I stepped in it and, oh, it's got white all over the floor. I love my wife. Sorry. That's probably her. It definitely is. Underneath the mistletoe. Trust me, I play a professional on YouTube. Trying to be cool. That's what it always seems like anyways. I'm so stupid. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. That is not what I measured. Oh, you're never gonna see that. It's not necessary, but it'll make it kind of nice. You know. Maybe I could cut this even. Like a little stair trim. Boink. And then cut that and be like, nying, nying. Nice. Baseboard, door trim. Hey. Is it soundproof? There's no hope with dope.
Damn it.
Oh. That was unfortunate. This is difficult.
Yeah. My hand's numb.
Exactly 45 and a half. That's just for you, Lauren. I'm just talking to you. That one's gonna be, I'm just talking to myself.
Oh. Nope, wrong one.
Just get some screws in it. Screws junk. Yes, it is the screw. You've never seen nothing like that.
Never. Stop it. Stop dropping screws. You're right, Lauren. It is the screw. My back hates me. Shut up. I missed! Already? Did I not mark it properly? Oh my God. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. Screwing where somebody put a mark. It's not my mark. You kidding me? What? Way too much. What the hell? Oh my God, it's going the wrong way. Don't show any of this. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. Oh God. I'm gonna need that gun down there. Sorry. Not today! Oh my God. Quay. Ah. Get in there. You like what you see? Okay. Please cut. Should I even do this for a living anymore? What am I even doing? You just gotta look at it. I'm blaming it all on the angles of this tight quarters here. I have excuses for days, and that's one of them. Let's screw it off. Yeah, screw off, will ya? Good start. I'm pretty sure there was a stud here, but I don't know where it is. Maybe I should use a me finder. That's going over here. Okay, cut. Freaking madhouse. Ow! Coda. Oh my God.
We're never gonna get this done.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Holy shit balls. Why? Why do I do that? Like,
The ladder will catch you.
I just thought of something. I didn't watch the new Ghostbusters and now Halloween's over. I mean, I've already seen it, but I wanted to watch it again for, you know, Halloween. My life is over. You're gonna be cutting a lot of this out, Lauren. You gotta be more careful. Ugh. No! So. Okay, first coat. This is the tape coat. First coat is the second. Oh, it's because it's a reopen. So I can stop at any time, take a break, take lunch, edit, reply to comments, play pickleball. My fingers in the mud. Fingers in the mud. All right, just do the best you can with what you got. I don't even know what that means. Cut that out of it. Like that. Ah! Did you see that? So there's some dried up stuff. Sometimes you just gotta leave it alone, Matt. Because then you end up doing this, and you get frustrated, and you just load it up with so much mud. It's not f***ing fun. It's seriously, like, really bad. I don't even want to show this. Oh boy, I hope I'm mixed up enough. I hate mud. I know, I'm in your way. It's driving me f***ing nuts. See? It's like this never dried. That's what they make sanding sponges for. I don't get it. I gotta get this trash down a little bit. Whoops. Ah. Ah. Come on. It's a basement. Who cares? Man, I wish I was doing textured walls. This would be easy. That's why people do textured walls. Not because of the look. That might be the excuse for the person doing it. I look so much better. No, that's not the case. It's just easier. Admit it. Admit it! It's easier than flat walls. Wow, I could say that that looks pretty good. There's 1 out of 15, right? We're trying to be positive, right? Okay, sorry.
No, I think it looks good.
I think that one came out good. This is difficult.
Except for that one spot.
Hey! Start from the bottom, work your way up. Can you see that side? All right. Oh, you're filming already. This is a fast setting. You know what it is. Easy. That's why I love this Easy Send 5. Same thing. I always like to do a second coat because yet another tip. A big... You might not know what this means, but I do. So, makes sense for me. Oh, the weather outside is frightful. The fire is so delightful. There's no place to go. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Merry Christmas! I can even take away some of these paintbrush strokes. Never mind. Right, Lauren?
Right.
I'll make them dizzy, Lauren. Lauren, you are going to make everyone sick.
Just seeing what it looks like.
Yuccas. It's gonna be a close one, close one, close one. Gonna be really close. If I want to do a second coat on this, I need another gallon. That's unfortunate, but oh well. I was really hoping to cheap out on this one. Girl, the sand and sponge, so fine.
Oh my god.
I got them all today. I got them all. Did I get you?
A little bit.
This hat's pretty gross, huh? Ew! Hey, little lost paper towel, wanna come with me? Sure! You don't want anybody missing the sound of me being an idiot. I know you can't see this. I don't care. I don't care if you can see this or not. Coat of hair not included. Oh, good. I hit the frickin' side already. Don't show that corner. Smooth. 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 This is a pretty thick roller. Did I get this for something else? For a rough surface? I can't remember. Can't remember what I got this for. Definitely, I forgot what I bought a 1/2-inch roller for. What the hell project was I doing? It would have been like cement. Oh. Oh. I'm okay. Go all the way up and all the way down, Lauren. Faked you out.
Dead.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm done. I'm using the cheap tape this time because I got yelled at by you guys. Don't use the green tape. That's so expensive. You just used like $40 in green tape. So there you go. Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby? Da 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 da. Baby, 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 oh baby. Best singing you've ever heard in your life. Oh man, that's going all over the house. I hope this is the last time I have to do this in this house. I sorry, Coda. The sides, the wall color. Just nick that. Fingernail. What's the origin of that name? Is it French? Italian? I don't know. My father thought of it while shaving.
Oh, good God.
Get it, Lauren?
I do.
Nick!
Sorry, we were close up. We didn't get that beautiful face.
I said, didn't come out too bad. There, was that good? Was that a good reenactment?
That was great. Thank you so much.
You know, truth is, I probably could have cut this piece off, but I have no idea how the structure is underneath it. Like this little bit, is it helping? I don't know. It's been there for so long that I ain't gonna touch it. You could put little trinkets on it. It would be awesome if I just disappeared out of this shot. The stairs collapsed.
Yeah, so fun.
No, it wouldn't be awesome. Well, whatever.
I'd love to call your wife and tell her.
I mean, I wouldn't be happy about it, but the shot might be cool.
Yeah, not all the paint on me.
Oh, that's what you're worried about.
Yeah. Not just your back.
Did you fall through the stairs today? The stairs are broken. There's paint everywhere. I am gonna get in so much trouble. Did you do drywall today? There's white all over the floor. Did you paint today? There's paint on the floor. It's the right bit. Lauren, it's the bit. These tiny little, what the hell are these?
Pegs.
Pegs. Can you move that one down to the bottom? I think the ones on the top should be bigger. Hang in there. A Dyson that you plug in. You may have seen it many times. It's stupid. You kidding me? Drive on a nuts. Why is it so difficult? I'm not doing it. Trying to set me up. Do you remember?
Yeah, no, I don't know if there's wires in there.
Okay, cool. Bye. And then these two pieces. Stop. And then these two pieces. And then these two pieces. Oh, that didn't work. Oh man, one nail shy. Seriously? I'm gonna say it. That's not going anywhere. Ooh, I am, however.
Oh gosh, these stairs.
Hello. Make this look good, Lauren. You can probably cut.